everybody. This is Chase Petiche. This is Fempowered Moon Astrology, and this is the forecast for the full moon lunar eclipse in Gemini, which is November 30th, depending where you are, around 1:30 a.m. in the morning. So, obviously, this has been a crazy year, 2020, and now we got an eclipse. And, you know, eclipses they bring about really radical change. They quicken the speed of our evolution of things that are already happening, and they can shift the direction of our lives. And so much is kind of scattered and dissolving and changing right now that we can really use this eclipse to really push ourselves in new directions and to challenge ourselves to examine, you know, where things are not working in our lives and where we need to reassess and move forward in new directions. So, you know, obviously this is happening no matter what, because you can't control the cosmos. All I'm doing is giving you information, words to give you maybe a little bit more clarity about what you're already feeling energetically. And hopefully this lines up with you. You know, full moon lunar eclipses can really be about a kind of completion, an ending, but simultaneously a beginning, because it's a full moon, right? And the full moon is getting eclipsed. So it's literally losing its light, and then the light is coming back. And so that shifts, it changes our own electromagnetics here on Earth when the moon's energy is, it's like a light goes on and off, right? And what that does is it speeds up, brings attention to, helps us get clearer on the things that we are grown out of, that are ready to be released, that are no longer working. So this is a full moon in Gemini. Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac. It is an air sign. It is a mutable air sign. A mutable air sign, you know, everybody knows the Gemini as the twins, right? They are the teacher, the storyteller, the journalist. They are the sign of the zodiac that is really interested in understanding and gathering information in order to kind of report back what is simply going on in order to understand. And really on the deeper aspect, on the deeper level, they really kind of rule perception, raw perception. And, you know, some definitions of perception would be to recognize, discern, envision, understand. But to be perceptive, which if you're watching this, I think you probably are. That's what people have told me my whole life. I remember a friend of mine wrote that in my yearbook, high school yearbook. You're so perceptive. You know, and I remember I took that class in college. I always loved the idea of perception, the idea that how we interpret individually our reality, right? How we take in our stimulus around us, and what kind of value that brings. You know, perception originally means how we kind of recognize the environment through the senses, but to be perceptive is really about noticing and understanding things that most people don't. And so here with the kind of astrology that I do, which is based in the shadow, which is based in the moon, which is based in the feminine, right? All the things that are the undercurrent, the feeling energy, the intuitive energy of ourselves. So all of the forecasts I give are really about asking the self deeper questions and how this can be used towards your own highest evolution potential and ultimately power. So, you know, the thing about Geminis is that they're called the twins, and so they flutter from thing to thing. And a lot of people can know Geminis as kind of being two-faced, and that's because they can really see every single side of every single argument. They're kind of like Libras, although Libras are ruled by Venus. So Libras are they're more about art and beauty. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication, of study, of messages, right? And its highest, Gemini is really a channel, and it's really a messenger. And so it's here to kind of understand and perceive the environment, and then kind of explicate what is seen on the material realm through words, so that human beings can understand, so that they can begin to understand their environment, themselves even more. This is a very Gemini thing that I'm doing right now, which is speaking to you in this manner, right? Words, reading, writing, communicating, Gemini. So, I think Geminis can get a bad rap, I've had a lot of issues with Gemini men in my life. But, because they can go either way. But Geminis, if we don't have them, they're the curious, playful, endlessly curious, which is really a beautiful thing. They are the opposite of being stuck. They're kind of like the opposite of like a Taurus, which is like very grounded, very fixed, right? They are like all over the place, going from one thing to another, the butterfly of the zodiac, trying to understand and process what they're getting in a raw, perceptive form to be able to understand and give it back. So they're extremely hyper, perceptive, which also is psychic, right? They kind of, because it's the air, they kind of operate up here, and they kind of understand this energy that, a lot of people maybe who are more grounded, who are more rational, they get like intuitive impulses, intuitive hits. They just understand things, right? So how can we use this full moon in Gemini as our to help us? So some questions you can start to ask yourself for this new moon in Gemini, full moon in Gemini, okay? How have I been stuck? Where am I ignoring deeper truths in myself in order to stay safe? So this is a big one, okay? Like asking yourself, I think that a lot of us have kind of been stuck in this holding pattern, right? Of like fear and insecurity and unknowingness of where we're heading on planet Earth, and getting inundated with the news and the fear. And especially if you're sensitive, you're just getting inundated with deeper levels of subconscious, collective conscious fear, right? And so what I believe that this can do is that this can really lead us, because we've been inundated with a kind of fear, we can kind of begin to feel stuck. I know that's how I've been feeling on and off for the past couple months, is kind of just feeling stuck, kind of feeling creatively stifled. And, this is a really great way. We can use this ideas around perception and perception of the self to begin to ask ourselves, where am I ignoring deeper truths within myself in order to stay safe? Okay, these are some questions I want to ask. Where have I been lazy with myself, skimming over deeper issues that need to be spoken or investigated? Now, this is a big one, okay? So, because Gemini rules the voice, right? It rules speaking, truly. These things need to start to become spoken by you in order to get you out of a creative rut, in order to get you out of a feeling stuck situation, because everything has been in this kind of like a holding pattern, right? For the past year, we've been doing a lot of retrogrades, and then we kind of had this traffic jam in Capricorn with the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction. And now everything is mostly going forward. We have a few retrogrades, but not like it has been, okay? So everything is starting to move forward, so we're not stuck anymore. Even though we are still being perpetuated by a fear that is kind of a collective fear, we can use this fear to begin to examine ourselves. Really, ultimately, everything comes down to the self, right? So it's beginning to ask ourselves, what am I afraid of in myself? What am I afraid of actualizing? What am I afraid of creating? What am I afraid of saying? Okay? So these are the true things within the self, because I think a lot of times, I come up against, obviously I create content, and I have a lot of stuff that I've created and I write and everything, but I go through ruts, I think like we all do, of creative kind of like, just stifled. And when I really get down to it, and I start asking myself about these things, I think that it really can come down to a deeper fear of success, which really can come down to a deeper fear of and deeper issues around self-worth. And so that's the other thing that is going on this full moon eclipse, is that there is a full moon in Gemini that is opposing the sun in Sagittarius. And then there is the Venus, the ruler of beauty, love, in Scorpio, right? So that's intense feeling, energy, love, relationships, money, depth, intensity, self-worth. The deepest levels of self-worth and worthiness opposing Uranus, the planet of authenticity, freedom, rebellion, psychic insight, revolution. Okay. And so this can really highlight in our lives where we might be having some tension, where we might be not being able to fully speak our truths in relationships, where we may feel stifled, where we may feel restricted, where we may feel like we are not able to fully allow ourselves to express ourselves in our own ways. And because I think a lot of times, at least within patriarchal patterning for men and women, but for women especially, I think women get in relationships and they kind of subvert their own needs in order to make others happy. And I think that this can lead to a lot of stifled, stuck creativity, right? And it can really block the authentic truth and the authentic voice from being heard. And so, this can be in any relationship. It doesn't necessarily, and it also relates to deeper sense of self-worth. So this can be relationships, Venus. This can be to the self, to others, to a partner, to friends. This can be really how is my self-worth working along? Am I expressing myself? Am I hiding my authentic self? Am I hiding my authentic truth in order to be safe? Where am I, compromising my own sense of, identity or worth and where is that being held back from? How is that being held back against my authentic truth? Okay, these are all intersecting. These are all intersecting ideas. And I want you guys to just start thinking about them for this full moon, because the self-worth, how we are in relationships, our authenticity, our rebellion, our freedom, linked to how we are speaking that out into the world, how we are broadcasting, how we are creating. And really, words, Mercury, right? What the planet that rules Gemini is Mercury, right? Which is making a beautiful trine to the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that is still happening. And that energy is the energy of destruction and rebirth that we've been going through all through 2020. And that's making a beautiful trine to Mercury right now. So Mercury rules Gemini. So there's an innate connection there, right? And so this is a really amazing time, and this is the time to begin to speak our truth, to begin to go deep inside within the self, and begin to ask ourselves, where have we been not necessarily speaking, creating, allowing out? Because like I said, Mercury is, in the tarot, it's the first card. It's ruled by the magician. Mercury, the magician in the tarot holds all of the symbols. It holds the cups, the wands, the swords, and the pentacles, because it is through words that we are actually able to create all of reality in life. And so Mercury, the speaker, the storyteller, what stories are we telling ourselves? What stories are we weaving for ourselves? And are you happy in the story that you're in? Okay. Are you happy in the story that you've been weaving? Do you feel stuck? Do you feel stifled? Do you feel like you're not able to express your truth? Do you need to rebel? Do you need to break out of your cage so that you can feel free to create the way that your heart, your fiery heart needs to express? Because that's really, all of our systems are disintegrating, and all of our, it's happening in all of our relationships as well. We are changing, our relationships are changing, our towns, our villages, our systems, everything is changing, right? So ultimately it comes back to the self, right? So that's all we can ever do. That's all we can ever do. And, some other questions you can ask yourself is, where do I keep myself small in order to keep others safe? Can I begin to name this? Can I begin to utter it to myself? Can I journal to a friend? Can I pray? Just beginning to allow yourself to speak these things that you may have held on the inside and not known how to actually express is the first step into shifting your story, into telling a new story. And the story that you tell yourself is going to be your life experience. So what I'm asking you to do for this full moon eclipse is to begin to tap the deeper resources, the deeper reserves, the deeper caverns of your own soul, your own truth, the things that you have been hiding from yourself, the perception that you have not applied to yourself and your own deeper needs, which ultimately is linked to your own self-worth, and begin to speak that out into the world, to yourself, to anyone, anything. You can write it, you can journal it, but beginning to give yourself space to speak the things that you need in order to feel free, in order to feel powerful, in order to be in truth, are the most important things that you can do to be alive. So those are, that's what I would say for this full moon, lunar eclipse. Lots of changes on the horizon, like we all don't feel them. And yeah, we're just trucking along here, man. 2021 is going to be a trip, but all these changes are doing really, we're just in the thick of it right now, everybody. I know it's rough out there, and I know everybody's going through something right now. But we're in the thick of it, and we're in the metamorphosis of the transformation that is occurring. So I just want to let you guys all know that, and I want you to use this eclipse to push yourself out into the world however you can, even if you're stuck inside, beginning to allow yourself to express what it is that you truly desire, your own authentic needs, your own wants and desires, and your own is the entryway to the highest levels of self-worth, which ultimately brings about the highest pleasure and the highest joy. And that is what I want for all of you. All right. I love you so much, and have a wonderful week.